Yes, since the expose titled Train Terror Attack and the demands being made, it has emerged, it is now known to all that the President of Nigeria, Commander-in-Chief of Nigeria's Armed Forces, is complicit in the terror that had been ravaging Nigeria since about 2011, when Fulani were procured from everywhere, El-Rufai being the interface. El-Rufai himself told us how he went to 14 different countries to get them, and now they've done their own part of delivering the power that the Fulani wanted in Nigeria by brigandage, and they're now demanding that the land promised them, the land of all of us, the land of the indigenous nationalities, from where they entered to Boni, to Badagry. That's what they're demanding should be handed over to them. Of course, it's no longer possible to do that. All the attempts by Ruga, by amendment, all of the things they tried to do to deliver to them didn't work. Particularly this last amendment that was disguised as local government autonomy. If that amendment went through, it would have been the point of delivery of our lands to these murderous invaders. And so a lot of concerns, a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries, are streaming in from very high levels of places, including the international circuit, diplomats, countries that have stakes in Nigeria, even concern for what will happen should Nigeria snap. Inquiries are coming. If this is the case, what is the moral justification, like the king of a town being discovered, being found out to be the proprietor of the robbery gang terrorizing the town? What would be the moral justification for allowing such a king to carry on? What else would the king be discussing about agriculture, or about economy, or about other things when the security is compromised? That's the situation we're in, and I would think it's a legitimate question coming from the quarters. They're coming from all over Nigeria and far beyond. That now that we know that our president is the one at the center of what we are struggling with, are we to wait for another 1 year? What will be the basis of waiting for another 1 year? What will be the basis for waiting for another 1 year to election in 2023 before we begin to think of what to do with the situation? And so that legitimate question, begins to find an answer in the 5-point proposition of NINAS, the December 16th, 2020 Constitutional Force Majeure Proclamation, the 5 points of proposition in which we raised a union dispute and insist that the government of the Federation, as represented by the government of the Federation, must now acknowledge the union dispute, the constitutional grievances, for which the constituents are saying we cannot proceed on the basis of this constitution. We propose also that a commitment, a firm commitment, an express commitment for winding up the operation of this illicit constitution, like South Africa did with apartheid, in 1990, or from 1990. We insisted that in that proclamation, that in order to put a time frame, a definite time frame, that the next round of elections advertised for 2023 must be shelved so that we can go into the reconstruction of the damaged constitutional basis of Nigeria. Of course, in the number 4 proposition, we talked about the modalities. What will be the time frame? What will be the composition of that transition team? Who are going to be in charge of putting it together? What will be their mandate and all of that? Item 4 of that, let those who have not, particularly read the constitutional force majeure proclamation go to at least those 5 points so we can see exactly what needs to be done and how it will be done, because it's all spelled out there. So that people don't begin to say, oh, it is we don't know how to do it, or begin to turn things upside down and put in the hands of wrong people to come to do. Finally, that a time-bound transition will have to be announced after all of those modalities have been discussed by the appropriate people as indicated. And so, against the backdrop of our proposition that we should shelve the journey to election and put in place a transitioning mechanism that will rework, the constitutional arrangements for the fresh constitutional protocols that will be anchored on the self-determination imperative for the constituent components, because the Nigeria of today, defined by the 1999 Constitution, is no longer the project of all of those you are calling Nigerians. Yoruba are fed up, Ijaw fed up, Igbo fed up, Middle Belt fed up, and that constitution that has their signature as the authorization for their damnation is what we've defeated that constitution. So there's really no union. Technically, there's no union in place right now. It's just out of goodwill, out of the desire to avoid anarchy, that people are still carrying on. But those who ought to be listening, sitting in Abuja, especially the ones from the part that are being slaughtered in the South and Middle Belt by this other part, we are saying that we must find the courage to deal with the situation as it is. We can't continue the pretense that nothing is going on. We cannot continue the pretense that all is well. We cannot continue the pretense that that the economy is being built or that agriculture will get better. No, there's nothing of interest. There's nothing this government that is complicit in the terror that is upstaging every other thing. It is that terror that has brought the collapse of the Naira to where it is that Nigeria has become the poverty capital. People can no longer go to the farms and do their regular things. Everywhere in Nigeria is just rumbling with one catastrophe or the other, with one crisis or the other. And the system is shutting down. The university teachers are on strike. The labor movement planning their own strike. The airlines can no longer function. Everything is shut down. And so we say, what is the basis for waiting for 1 year to go to another election? Election to do what? Under this constitution? And so we begin to seek answers to the suggestions, to the propositions that are coming about how we must now act on the situation. There's no moral justification. There's no moral basis for this president and to carry on as if his 4 years is sacrosanct. Jega, the one that conducted the election in 2015, already confessed that Jonathan did not lose the election. And that begins to bring us to some of the answers that we should be looking for. We also have been seeing in the media all this talk about how Jonathan can become a candidate of APC and all of that. We have listened and we have followed very keenly. And it is beginning to, the suggestions are coming. And we will be better disposed to such suggestions to say, in trying to put in place a transition at this time, why don't we look in the direction of former President Jonathan, who has such tremendous goodwill, which is why a lot of people are shouting very loudly, oh, don't go to this camp of, what did Professor Shoyinka call them? He said it's like a collection of vipers, a place cobras gather. Why do you go there? So it is that goodwill that is required at this time more than anything else to hold the country together to a meeting to discuss the future, since the current constitution has failed. And it will be a suggestion that cannot be dismissed. it will be a suggestion that should be very seriously considered, that we put in place a transition that has to use most of what is left of the current tenure. Instead of waiting for election in 2023, that transition can be instituted within the first half of 2022, so that we can have all of that time, because everybody knows what we need to do. That Jonathan that APC, that Buhari and his APC have been angling for to come and be their candidate, he was produced by PDP, and since we say election will not solve the problem, why don't we look in the direction of that Jonathan to come and be a central part of, because the international community also, he has a lot of goodwill in the international arena, and there's no part of the country that, from what we've been seeing since after he left office, we saw the people that marched to his office the other day to say he must come to run. We are saying it is not, since election will not solve this problem, why don't that goodwill, that countrywide goodwill, that global goodwill, why do we not bring it to try to solve the problem that has to be solved? And therefore, Nina should be well disposed to looking at these questions that are arising from Buhari's complicity, along the lines of the urgency of the need to go to that transition and to get the goodwill that we already have in the person of former President Goodluck Jonathan, as the anchor. It has to be a collegiate thing. A lot of, according to the modalities we put there, but let us bring that goodwill into the pool of what will become that transition and go to work. Since the APC people are thinking that Jonathan is, we are not opposed to Jonathan coming to be, even for the reason of Jega's confession that he did not lose the election of 2015. Why don't we put all that together and seriously consider a transition that we have two models we can take from what South Africa did in 1990 with apartheid. We can have a nominal governance going on with a CODESA type of body with constituent powers now dealing with these issues according to the modalities we spell out by ourselves, not the one that anybody in Abuja will say is doing on our behalf. It must be the constituent components that could be countries of their own that will be decided, that will be discussing. It's after they have recommitted to the union that we will now go to the question of writing another constitution. And so I would think that everything considered, let us go more quickly to this transition. Every day we postpone it, we are running the risk of things snapping. And nobody is going to be able to hold things together if things snap by themselves. I think we can go from here to the